Yeah, now it's okay. So let's create our package. I will click on create button. Simply provide a short description here. Package for SAP ABAP training. All right. Let's
Mhm.
okay. Now click on OK. Simply assign the transport request here. Let's go find it out from here on. Uh, yeah, this one. Okay. Save. So my package and transport request, everything is ready. Now let's start with our very first chapter, which is data dictionary. So do you guys know what is data dictionary? Have you ever heard about it?
I did, yes. This is where you define these domains and data elements. I just briefly had a little bit to do with it. So I've briefly seen
Okay,
it before, yeah.
all right. What about you, Mukul?
Um, I mean, I know that you can maintain the tables here. I
Yeah,
mean,
definitely we can
yeah,
maintain the table.
but more
And
have.
okay, let's see, let's find it out what it is. So see, data dictionary here is the also known as ABAP dictionary, or in short form some people also call it DDIC, and it is the central repository system in the SAP system, which is used to maintain the definition of the database object such as tables, views, structures, data elements, domains, search helps, lock object, etc. A lot of stuff are there. So data, it is the central repository system in the SAP which is used to maintain all the database objects. You can see here, if I will go to SE11 transaction code, simply, this is the transaction code for our data dictionary or ABAP dictionary. We can see we have a lot of stuff around here, and we are going to play with everything in this course. So we will be using them, we will be creating them, and then we will be seeing it how we can maintain it. So this is my central repository system. It is a part of my ABAP workbench. It is a part of my ABAP workbench tools using which I can maintain all the database object. Is this thing clear?
Mhm.
Yes. Mhm.
And the simple transaction code for it is SA11. Now what is a table? You guys already know that tables are there. So if I would ask you a question, a simple definition to define a table, what would be your answer?
Uh, I would say it is something that has rows and columns.
Okay, something that has rows and columns. So you are telling me that anything that has rows and columns will be called as table.
It should have multiple, right? Like
It should have what?
more, one or more tables or rows.
One or more rows.
Sorry, one or more columns or rows.
And you,
Otherwise,
Mukul?
it's just a field.
Um, yeah, table, like you said, can have rows or columns, and
Definitely. And if there
basically,
is a table, there must be rows and columns. But is it sufficient definition?
yeah. So the firstly there'll be a table structure, which I mean, the different elements of the table, and inside the structure, we can save data accordingly.
Yeah, we can save data accordingly. That is the main term. See, it is a simple collection of rows and column, and it is the actual place in the database where your actual data is going to be stored. Tables are the only place inside the database where your data is going to be stored. So in the next sessions or in the upcoming sessions, we are going to see a lot of think that where we will be storing the data, but on a real life scenario or in your database, actually the table is the only place where your data is stored. So if a simple question is being asked where your data will be stored inside the database, the simple answer will be table. Table is the collection of rows and columns, and it is actual place where your actual data is stored in SAP or inside your HANA database. Now, a lot of tables are there. if you will discuss about it, you'll go to simply S11 transaction code, and inside it we can see a lot of table are there, Mara, MAKT, right? We have got VBAK and VBAP. So what is the meaning of having all those tables? What is the meaning of having all those tables? So the simple definition of it is, we have already seen that SAP is an ERP software and it is an integration of all the functions that are there. So it also consists of, what it has done, it has simply divided all those functions into various modules. This module consists of like sales and distribution module, material management modules. Yeah,
Mhm.
any question?
No,
Okay, okay.
right.
So it consists of sales and distribution module, invoice details is also part of it. Then we have material modules like that. So when you go for this sales and distribution module, there are certain transaction code that we must know, which is VA01, which is mainly used for sales order creation purpose. Then we have VA02, which is used for if your data has already been created in VA01, you can go to VA02 and perform the changes. These things mainly comes under the functional part, but as a developer we must have the knowledge of all this stuff. Then we have this VA03, which is sales order display, so using which we can display our content that we have created. Then you are going to see that whenever you are going to create any data, any sales order data from VA01, it will be stored, all the items, all the fields of it will be stored in both these tables, VBAK and VBAP table, right?
Mhm.
You guys know, na, this is the table VBAK and VBAP of sales and distribution.
Hmm.
Yes, I've
Okay,
heard about it. Yeah.
but here is a problem. Why we have two tables required, VBAK and VBAP? Why not one? If I am only storing data of sales and distribution, why do I need of VBAK and VBAP both the tables? Why cannot I store the data in a single table? This is my question. Why do we need multiple tables to store a data? When I am talking about material master, why I am storing data in MARA and MAKT table? Why cannot I store it in a single table? Any answer, please?
I mean, theoretically, I think it should be possible to also save it in one table, but maybe it's easier to separate data and
Mhm.
Easier to
to,
separate data. Do you
I
think
mean,
it is
then,
technically right answer, or if I'm answering this question to an interviewer, he will be satisfied with it?
I mean, to simplify the structure of the table, I think then the split
All right,
with the header.
let's say something. Let me open a notepad. Okay, I'm saying that I've got employee ID column, employee name. Suppose this one. I've got few columns here: my department, manager, salary, currency field, and then I've got, suppose, project ID, project name. Uh, yeah, this one. So tell me, which of these fields are the ones in which most likely data is going to be stored on a regular basis?
The upper
Just
one,
think about it.
the fields.
These are columns. Just take example. These are columns. Fields and columns are the same stuff. Okay, don't get confused with it. So I'm asking that which of these columns, employee ID, name, department, manager, salary, currency, project ID, and project name. So let's take a scenario that suppose I am joining an organization. Okay, whatever organization it is. So there will be an employee ID that will be created for my name, right? And I will have a name, then a department will be allocated to me, there a manager will be allocated, a salary discussion will be done, and accordingly my salary will be stored in the table, and then the currency in which I'm going to get the salary. But then we have this project ID and project name. You guys have already working, you are already working. So can a employee has multiple projects?
Yes.
This
Mm,
in an organization, can an employee has multiple projects? This is my question.
mhm.
Definitely,
Yes.
na. He can have multiple projects, like just say I'm selling that project ID is 101 and I'm giving the project name. Suppose if you are working for the company Nestle project, then you are working for suppose Coca-Cola project, and then suppose you are working for Mercedes-Benz, Mercedes. Okay. But my question here is, do the employee will have multiple employee ID?
No.
Do the employee will
Single
have
one.
multiple employee ID? Do the employee will have multiple employee name?
No.
I will have a single name, na. If I am working in a department, a BAP, the department will be fixed once I join the organization. Otherwise, I will have to change my department, right? A
Right.
manager will be allocated. Suppose whatever manager it is, I'm saying Mr. Anuj. Okay. Then a salary will be discussed, and this salary will be pay changed only after the increment, which is usually done after a year. And suppose the currency is US dollar. So the question here is, suppose I have to store a single data. Should I store the same stuff where I'm storing the multiple data? Here in this scenario, let's stay, go for this one now. If I link with it, suppose I'm passing the employee ID and a single one who is working on this project. Let's give this employee ID as again 101 and 101. Just try to understand why I am applying this situation. Okay. Now think about this. This is the same employee who is working on multiple projects. Okay.
Yes.
But my question is, in this table I can store this data at once, and what I'm going to see, this data is not going to change on the continuous manner, but there is a possibility that another project can be allocated to this 101 employee, and suppose that project ID will be 105. Now it is he is going to work for some company called Accenture. Is this possible? This is possible,
Yes.
na? A single employee is working on multiple projects, that is usually happens. But if this same data I am going to store inside this same column, it will take multiple columns, right? To store it is going to take multiple rows now.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So here the header and item concept comes into the picture. That for every transaction code you are going to see, for sales order you are going to see sales document header. The header part is stored in your VBAK table, and the item part, you are always going to see item can be one or item can be multiple. I will explain why item can be multiple within couple of minutes, but this is the stuff here that you are going to see always. For every module there will always have a header item table and always have a item table. For header we have VBAK table, and for item we have VBAP table. The same will apply on invoice detail. For invoice you are going to see VF01 for creation part, VF02 for billing part, change part, and for VF03 for display part. And here we will have our header VBRK table and VBRP table. Then for your material management, you are going to see MM01 as material creation, MM02 as material change, and MM03 as material display. And for this one, again, we have MARA as material data, which is mainly header table, and you have MAKT as material description. Now, what is this concept of header and item table? So your header table always stores the main document information, like a information which is not easily going to be changed. So what you are going to see in the header part, only those data is stored, only those columns are stored which are not changed on the regular manner. That is why I have taken this example. For these columns of data, it is not going to change on the regular manner, but for these two columns of data, it will be it can, there is a possibility that it can be changed. So suppose now I'm passing here TCS, so it can be changed on the regular manner. So what SAP has done, it has simply divided both the header and item table in the two parts, and then it is going to link this both the table based on the column key, based on the common key. Okay, so that both the table will be working in the same manner. Are you getting my point?
Yes.
Yes.
So it stores the main document information while your item table stores details related to each line item. Both the tables are going to do some stuff. They will be storing like some part of the columns, some part of the data will be stored in the header and some part of the data will be stored in the item. And they are going to be linked through a common key or column for organized data management. Now let's again, why do we need to link these tables? Why SAP has to link this table? Can you guys answer this question? Why SAP is linking these two header and item tables? Think about it. If there is two tables, header and item, they are linked with each other. Now what is the necessity of linking them? I need a simple answer for it. What
So
will be the answer? Yeah.
this way you can query the associated projects, for example, for an employee ID.
Uh, project related.
For
No, no, no.
example,
I'm
like,
not saying this one.
mhm.
I'm saying why it is necessary for linking. What will
Maybe
happen
so
if
you
I'm not
can.
going to link it? This is my question. Suppose I'm passing the correct data still, but I'm not linking these both tables. What will happen if I'm not linking the tables? Okay,
Then
let's take a
it will be hard
situation.
to figure
Yeah,
out. Maybe it will be hard to figure out what projects this employee is assigned to, or if they're not
hard to
linked.
figure out. It's not about that. See, SAP is the most popular ERP software across the globe. You guys know already. So, do you think this is enough reason for it? Data is the most crucial thing in this world, right? So what I
Mhm.
am saying here is, suppose this employee Amrit still has not joined the organization. Now, is it possible that there will be any project with his name? Is it possible if this 101 employee ID has not yet created, there is no employee name with this 101 ID, is this possible that a project data can be created with his name? Is it possible?
No.
Technically, yes, if someone does it right. I mean, if someone enters this ID.
This is not my question that someone answering. My question is it feasible or do you think is possible that Amrit has not yet joined the organization? This 101 employee ID has yet not created. How can a project can be allocated on the name of Amrit? Definitely it is not possible, na? Are you still getting confused?
Yes, no, I understand. If he has not joined the company yet, then it
Okay,
doesn't make
Alan, just
sense, and it's.
you are working at some place, right? There you are
Mhm.
working on multiple projects. So my question here is, still suppose you have not yet joined that organization, is it possible that some project will be allocated on your name?
No,
Definitely no,
not.
no. So this is the main reason here to maintain the consistency of data. If there is no data in the header table, how can be there and data in the item table? You told me that so that we can fetch the data from earlier you answered the question that there might be possibility that so that we can get the data project, but this was not the reason. Yes, definitely it is one of those reasons, but the question here is, if employee is still not there, how can project will be allocated? So if a data is there in header table, the data must be there in the item table. That is why linking is necessary. Data cannot be inconsistent. We are
Mhm.
working with the best ERP software across the market. So to protect the data, to maintain the consistency of data, you are always going to see it. Let me show it to you guys. I will open the server. Suppose I am going for VBAK table and I am going to see the data here. This is 4969 data. Let's go to VBAP table and see what kind of data is there in this table. See here, data is there, 4969 data is there, right? And we can see here we have 4970, we have 4970, multiple data for 4970. Now can anyone tell me, in this header table we are only seeing a single record, but in this item table we have 4 record. How is it possible? How is it possible to store multiple data in the item? I simply told you I am storing multiple data, but how is it possible to store multiple data in one table and not in another table?
Because of the positions, the multiple position numbers on the third column, right?
Do you guys trying to understand why these 3 columns are in blue color and these are not? Why this single and these
Ah,
2 columns are? Why is it?
maybe one part is the header data and the other is the item data, no?
No, no, this is the VBAK table, right? This is a
Ah,
VBAK
right.
table. We have got this MANDT and VVELN part. And here you are going to see we have MANDT, VVELN and Posner part. But rest of them are in white color. Only these 3 columns are here in blue color. In my VBAK table, only these 2 columns are in blue color. There must be a reason, na?
Mhm.
These two fields from VBAP are linked to VBAK.
Uh, Linked to, yeah, this can be your answer, but this is not a sufficient one. See here, in every table, you are, if you will see it clearly, we have this key section, right?
Mhm.
This key simply means the primary key of your table. Okay, primary
Yes.
key. Do you guys have ever heard this word, primary key?
Yes.
What is a primary key?
It's a key which is shared across two tables in a way. It's like an identifier.
It's like an identifier. Yeah, this one is a good answer. See, primary key, primary key is used to identify a record uniquely. Uniquely. So in the header table, always, mostly in the header table, you guys are only going to see a single primary key. This MNDT is only there to show your table is client dependent table, but the only primary key here is VVELN. Now see here guys, this here is a single primary key. That is why you are seeing only a single data for each record, 4972, 4973, 4974, 4975. But you will go to the item table, which is VBAP, and if you will go inside the table, what you are going to see here, we have multiple primary keys, VBLN and POSNR. So here the data becomes, here your unique data will become the combination of VBLN and POSNR. Don't get confused with this MANDT. This table, row, this column is only there to prove that this table is client dependent table. In every standard table, mostly you are going to see this MANDT part. So if you will see here, the combination of this column and this column will become a unique record. Now see here, 496910. This one is a single record. Here you are going to see 4970 and 10. This is a single record. 4970 and 20. This is now a single record, right?
Yes.
4970 and 30. So the combination of this one is working here as a primary key. That is why we are able to store multiple data. That is why we are able to store multiple data. And in this item table that was discussing here, this was easily possible because this project ID is continuously changing. And what I can do now, I can simply make this employee ID and project ID as the primary key. So the combination of this one will be unique. Let's change it to something 100. So now this combination of two will become unique, right?
Now I understand. Yeah.
That is why we are able to store multiple data in the item table. That's the same thing SAP is doing here. Is this thing
Mm-hmm.
clear?
Yes.
Okay.
Just one
Mhm.
question, Amrit, for this table where you're in right now, the primary key consists of the entries in the first three columns, right? So including with this MA entity, right?
See here, let me just explain it. Whenever you log into your system, let me just log in again. Just close it. When you log into your system, you are going to see a client number will be there. Okay. This
Yes.
client number is defined at the time of your installation. I've already explained this one in the previous one. So this client number is there to show that your table is client dependent table. And when we create any client dependent table, or mostly we create only client dependent tables here. So what you are going to see, by default the client number will be stored. We are not storing anything here. We are not storing anything here. We will never get the chance to store. Whenever you will create your own table, you will not get a chance to store anything inside this MNDT field. Inside this date, automatically the client number will appear. This is only there to show that your table is client dependent table. Please do not get confused with this one, right? Just
Okay.
focus after that.
Good. Yeah.
Anything else, Mukul?
No, it's clear.
Oh, right. So guys, let's create our own tables. So I have two requirements here. I will go for this employee table and I am considering here as a header table. I've already explained this example. So what I'm going to do here, I will explain how we can create our own tables. So I have taken few fields: employee ID, employee name, department, manager, salary and currency. And we have this first one as client number to show that my table is going to be client dependent table. It will be always there guys. Almost for 99% case you are only going to play with this client dependent tables. So I will suggest to always practice with this one. Never ever go with client independent ones until you get up something in project. Then we have this project details table where we are going to store the project data of my employee. Here we will have employee ID, project ID and project name. And what you are going to see here, that in your header table, I have my employee ID as the primary key, and for my project details table, I have employee ID and project ID, both will be my primary key so that we can store multiple data. I hope this definition is clear why I will have multiple primary key here, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
So this one will be the data type and length. We will see what it is. Let's start with the creation part. Now, whenever you get anything to create a table, the first question that should always arise in your mind is the creation of domains and data element. Whenever you guys are going to get a task for the creation of tables, you are always going to ask to your functional consultant that how we are going to create the domains and data element, what are their data types and what are the all the stuff, right? So this thing should always arise in your mind, the creation of domain and data element. Alan, you told me you have created domains. What is the domain?
The domain is the data type, if I remember correctly.
Domain is data type. Is this answer sufficient again? See, you told me domain is a data type. Okay, so you simply means that for my VBLN field, What will be the this character 10 is domain. You are telling this character is domain.
Well, it's the data type, um,
And
and this is
length
part of it,
also.
and the length.
Yeah, this
Exactly.
is
Yeah.
also. See here, domain tells us about the technical characteristic of any field or column. Whatever the column you are going to use inside your table, domain is going to tell you about its technical characteristic. Technical characteristic means data type and length. Data type and length also you can give some fixed values using domain also, which we will see later on, but for now just see here, it is going to tell you the technical characteristic of the field and columns, which means data type and length. So first thing, whenever we are going to create any table, first we will select how many columns we are going to see, and for all those columns we will create domains. And once we will create domains, after that we will go for a data element part. Again, Alan, this is the same question for you. What is data element? Mukul, what is data element?
Mm, Data element,
Just think about it. What could be
maybe
a
the co
data element? Why do we need if for the creation of it? We already know we have data type and length. What is still left for our column part? Can you guys see here? For our column, we have this field section where we are entering our column name. We are giving marking here as primary key, and then we have this data element section,
Mhm.
right? So what is
Yes.
the use of data, this data element? What could be the use of this data element?
Is this the name of this element that how it's described within ABAP, right?
Okay, all right, let me take example. So suppose I am going to give this table to my end user that I have developed for him. He paid me some amount that, hey Amrit, please create this tables. I simply created this table called VBAK and I send him, now you are going to store data. So that end user or that customer, whoever it is, that guy, let's suppose he has no idea about SAP, he don't know what is tables and what all those stuff. Will he able to understand the column heading this VBL and ERDAT, ERZDT? Will he able to understand this one?
No.
Definitely, he is not going to understand because he is the customer. He has nothing to do. He wants to see here sales document number. He wants to see here creation date. He wants to see here creation time. If this thing will be written here as sales document number, he will understand that I have to store here sales document number. He will simply store it and his work will be done. Right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
So this is the definition of your data element. Data element tells us how the column or field will be visible to the end user.
Okay,
It
so
is
this is
going to tell us. Yeah,
the
it is
readable
going to tell
title.
us.
Mhm. Okay.
Let's take again an example. Suppose it's showing this field as EMP underscore ID, but my user wants that it should be visible like this employee ID. So this thing you are going to define inside this data element. Okay.
Mhm.
Yes.
And once we create our domain, we simply pass it inside the data element. So overall, the definition of your data element will become, it also defines your data type and length, as well as it also tell you how this column and field will be visible to the end user. So if you will double click on any data element, just go back here, double click on any data element. Inside it, you are always going to see this domain section. This domain has been passed by this SAP. So if you will double click in this domain, you are going to see the data type here as character, the length here as 10. Okay,
Mhm.
any doubt? Cool.
I don't have a doubt, but this data element then can have also like the description in different languages. So is there a different table for this data element?
See here, this is a property. All right, let me tell something. So Mukul, let's say Mukul knows how to speak in Hindi and English. So is this speaking is a behavior or a property or it is a being? Tell me.
I'm sorry, what is the question again?
The question is, Mukul, you know how to speak in both Hindi and English language. So you are
Mhm.
speaking in Hindi and English. Is this a property or it is a separate entity which exists in nature?
It's a
It is just
property.
your property, na? So this
Mhm.
data type, this data element is the technical property of any column. It is just a property. It is not taking any space inside your database. It is your property. We are the property of, see here, if I have to define a human class, all right, let me open Google. Let's relate this with real life. So I am suppose searching for human structure. This is a human structure. So is this a human being or am I a human being? My question here is this one a human being or am I a human being? This is just a
You are
structure. This is just a property that we have defined to specify how a human is going to look like. But is this a real human being? No, it is just a property, it is just a structure that has been defined. The same way we have defined a property, how your column will be stored, what will be the length of your column, what will be the data type of your column. Is this column going to store characters, or this column is going to store date, or this column is going to store time? Are you guys getting my point?
Mhm.
Yes.
Is this thing clear now, Mukul?
Yes.
So inside data element, if you don't want to create domain, it is perfectly fine. You can directly use this radio button predefined type. You can pass your own data type and length. It is no issue. It will not cause a trouble. But there is a separate advantage of domain. If you will go inside any domain, there is another section here, value range. So you can pass your own values that will be then that will then appear inside your table. So it is a separate section we will see later on, but this domain has a separate advantage, that is why we use it. So always you should go for domain and data element creation whenever a task is allocated to you for the creation of table, right?